Ecuador versus other cacao origins. Why businesses get sourcing wrong. Most businesses don't choose the wrong cacao supplier, they choose the wrong origin. And that's where the real problems start, because once the origin is wrong, everything that follows, flavour, consistency, production, performance, starts to break down. Now across this week, we're already broken down a few key things. We've looked at why Ecuador cacao is considered fine flavour. We've looked at how it's used in premium production. And we've covered Arriba Nacional as a benchmark variety. So we've already established that Ecuador cacao sits at a high level in terms of global recognition and performance. But here's the real question. What happens when businesses ignore that or misunderstand how origin actually impacts their supply? Because this is where most sourcing decisions go wrong. Most businesses approach cacao sourcing like this. They look at price, basic specifications, sometimes flavour notes. And they assume that if two cacao products look similar on paper, they'll perform the same. But they don't. And this leads to three major issues. Inconsistent batches. One shipment performs well and the next one doesn't. Flavour shifts. Texture changes, results become unpredictable. Product instability. Your process starts compensating for the ingredient. Instead of your cacao supporting your production starts adjusting to your cacao. That's backwards. Cost over time. And this is the one most businesses miss. They think they're saving money up front, but over time they lose efficiency, consistency, product quality, and that costs far more than the initial price difference. So the question is, which cacao is cheaper? It's which cacao performs consistently for my business. And that's where origin becomes critical. Let's break this down properly. Ecuador cacao, especially fine flavour varieties like Arriba Nacional, is known for flavour and balanced flavour profiles, consistency across batches, strong performance in production. That's why it's widely used in premium cacao and food manufacturing. It gives businesses something very important, and that's predictability. Other origins. Now, other origins can still be excellent. This isn't about saying one is good and one is bad. But what often happens is more reliability between farms, less consistent fermentation, less controlled processing, which leads to more variation in final product performance. The real difference? So the real difference is not just Ecuador versus Peru or one country versus the other. The real difference is consistency versus variability, performance versus appearance. Because two cacao powders can look identical, have similar aspects, but perform completely different in the real world production. And this is where most businesses get caught. They evaluate cacao at the surface level. Origin name, flavour description, price point, but they don't evaluate how stable the origin is, how consistent the supply is, how controlled the processing is, and more importantly, how that cacao is sourced through a system. Because origin alone is not enough. You can have great origin, poor handling, and still end up with inconsistent results. This is why sourcing cacao isn't just about buying. It's about understanding origin, fermentation, processing, and supply structure. Because of all of these determine how cacao actually performs. in your business. The businesses that get it right don't just buy cacao, they source it strategically. So when you're comparing Ecuador to other origins, don't ask which one is better. Ask which one performs reliably for what I'm trying to produce. If you're sourcing cacao and need consistency at scale, this is where most businesses go wrong. They focus on the product instead of the sourcing system behind it. The difference comes down to how that cacao is sourced, how it's controlled, and how it's delivered consistently. Work with a sourcing network that prioritizes origin clarity, quality, performance, and structured supply, not just availability. Links are below if you want to learn more, and subscribe for cacao sourcing insights built for real business decisions. Only here at Global Cacao Traders Online, your sourcing platform for global cacao supply from each and every country and origin. We are the sourcing supply specialists globally.